Maybe big data has gotten too big. Whether you're a B2B marketer or a consumer brand, your data needs to be viable, relevant, and accessible so that Stirista can help you retain customers, acquire customers, and make it personal.
Welcome to the Marketing Stir podcast by Stirista, probably one of the most entertaining marketing podcasts you're going to put in your ear. I'm Kevin, the producer here at Stirista. The goal of the podcast is to chat with industry leaders and get their take on the current challenges facing the market. And maybe we'll have a little fun along the way.
In today's episode, Vincent's old friend Donna Hamilton, Chief Innovation Officer at Alliant, hops on the podcast to discuss Alliant's role as a data and analytics company, as well as her place as a thought leader in the marketing space.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stirista's The Marketing Stir. I am your happy host, Vincent Petrofessa, the Vice President of B2B Products and Partnerships here at Stirista, still interim General Manager of the B2B division. They have not taken that title away, nor have they given me the General Manager title. What does a person have to do to get promoted here? I'm kidding. They take care of me here at Stirista. It is so good to talk to you, coming at you during the holiday season. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and all the amazing warm thoughts that you send me and come up to me at different conferences and tell me how you listen to the podcast, your favorite guests, and of course, our signature questions that you love. It's been great. So keep that love coming. We appreciate it. Let's talk for all those of you who are listening for the first time. We're the Marketing Stir, brought to you by Stirista. Who is Stirista? This is the only time we talk about Stirista in the entire, we don't take advertising here, but we're a marketing technology company. We help people through our own data sets, business to business, business to consumer, access that data to help them get new customers. We have our own ESP, our own DSP. That's who we are. Email me, vincent@stirista.com. That is how confident I am that we can help. I just gave you my email address. Boy, do you use it. Not always for the reason I want, but you'll notice today my co-host, he's not here because he's bummed that he can't talk to this guest, because he knows her personally as well. But I'm extremely happy. I have known this guest, let's call it maybe 15 years at least.
Probably about that.
Probably about that, right? One of my favorite people in this industry, ladies and gentlemen, we sat so close to each other for a number of years back in our info group days. The very special, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Innovation Officer at Alliant, the audience company. I love Alliant. I have so many friends there. My friend, Donna Hamilton. What's going on, Donna?
Hi. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you. This is great.
Of course. It's so great. We have such an amazing history together. And, I love so many friends at Alliant. Love what you're doing there. And Donna, so sorry I missed you at the Silver Apple Awards. We'll talk about that later. I always like see, former Silver Apple Award winner, little teaser. We'll get to that as well. People there, look what we're doing to the audience. The audience is like, what do you mean? Just a little teaser. But Donna, it is great to see you. Talk to us. I obviously very close to Alliant. I know, I love what you're doing there. Alliant, the audience company. Talk to us in your own words, what Alliant does, and then your role there. Talk to us. I love the role. You've grown so amazingly with that company. You're so passionate about it. Talk to us about those 2 points.
Sure. So Alliant is a data and analytics company at its core. That's what we're about, working with data and analytics to address the objectives for consumer product marketers, right? And I oversee data strategy, which is a lot of fun because, data in this company is a very integral part, and it's a creative way to help marketers address their business objectives. I work very closely with data science and the sales teams to help them understand how to best leverage what we do to meet the client goals. And it's just a lot of fun. We introduced a lot of the different audience products through the years that I've been here. And that's probably one of the most fun aspects for me is building out new products and solutions like that.
Yeah, and I know when I remember when you had started at Alliant, and You certainly have grown so amazingly with that company there. But talk to us, let's take it back, right? How did you get started in data strategy in this business? When I met you, we were sharing some office space back at Info in Greenwich, Connecticut,
We
right?
had an identity crisis. I was working for all these different list companies got acquired by Info Group in just a short period of time. And I was still working. It was under the Info Group umbrella, but with the brand Millard Group. You were with Walter Carl. We sat next to each other in the Direct Media building. And then there was Info USA on the other side. So I think we all had a little bit of an identity crisis going on there. It was fun though. It was fun.
It was. We made the most of it, but you're absolutely right. It was like all these different companies under that. But what I always take away from my time there is just these relationships, right?
Mm-hmm.
At Info Group, I actually met my wife, my most special.
Yeah, she was working in the office there with us as well.
Yeah. And she was there, and that wasn't always the beginning of it. We were in separate offices, when we first met, and then it was like, now we're in the same office, but hey, it worked out. We're married with 2 children, and we just celebrated our 10 year. It feels like 2 years, Donna. No, it feels like
that's good.
Yeah, no, that's not true. It feels like 25 years, but I love her so much. Anyway, but it's we were there, and we were having it was a great in relationships. That's what I talk about. These friendships. But how did you get started? Like in before that, in data strategy, the marketing. What brought you into it?
Yeah. So, I started at a list company, right? I started actually in the city at Thomas Publishing, and they did regional directories. And I was working in the marketing department there, and it was working on direct outreach, direct mail, email, et cetera, marketing. But then I ended up moving into a position to oversee their list business. And it just immediately was something I had a passion for. I was able to make more data out of data, right? Just better segmentation, enrichment. And I was able to, launch some new list products, and I got working with different brokers, et cetera. And then ultimately went to Millard Group. We were in New York, and we moved up to New Hampshire to work for Millard Group. Ben Perez was the president at that time, and spent like 15 years working for Millard. Then we were acquired by Info Group. But I was a list manager, but I always found myself working with databases, master files, enriching them, creating new product to make the lists viable, right? And then especially as you start competing with cooperatives, you either worked with them to enrich or to come up with product that could be competitive, because I was, managing individual brand titles, and the goal was to monetize it as much as possible, right? So I also then had some exposure to modeling, and with the bigger databases and master files, you can do that. And I really enjoyed it. Working on that, the whole data science aspect was very interesting to me. So toward the end then of that, at that time there, when I was with Info Group, I did do some work with Alliant. They were offering some optimization for a mutual client, Martha Stewart. And I said, wow, I really like what they offer. I thought it was really cool. And it seemed like, kind of like a think tank, right? There was like a cooperative database being built out that was very strong, as well as a really strong data science team. And lo and behold, there was a position open, and I took it. I took it. They wanted me. I had to go through a bit of a process, but got here and, just continue to grow with my knowledge of data science and leveraging data. And to me, it's like really creative. It's a lot of fun to work with all different data sources. So that's my long story.
No, it's a great story, because I started in list management as well and kind of took it to the sales and sales leadership side and business development. But yeah, well, it worked out well because, you cannot go to a conference now. Alliant is so well represented, but it's it's Joanne, my friend, it's Caitlin, it's Chris. It's like always at these conferences, and so you become, along with some other people there, the face of that company. So it's great to see the growth, especially you being a friend. So let's talk about Alliant. So for me, right, there's a few different ways I see Alliant, right? Like, at its core, like marketing services company, analytics company. What would you say? How would you describe it?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely a data and analytics company, but because of our consultative approach, we are able to work, specifically with the brands and brokers regarding their clients as well, specific advertising and marketing objectives for them. So that consultative approach, gets us in with them on the marketing side, right? And really understanding their business. So, the data and the analytics, builds out the solutions, but, we have to have the insights and guidance and intelligence that our brand partners need, right, to meet their objectives.
Yeah, a little bit of both. And, I think this is me, right, being in the industry and knowing, Alliant. I always think Alliant, first party data. Alliant, so you're always working, which is great. I mean, customers are entrusting you to work with their first party data, which I think is like the ultimate trust. So talk to us how, what are some of the challenges there, first of all, because the first thing that comes to mind sometimes with first party data is, privacy and trust. What's Alliant doing there to kind of ensure that trust?
Yeah, and when we say first party data here at Alliant, first party data is only used for that member, for that client, right? And no one else. What we'll get, I'll talk about what we do in the co-op in a moment, but just going back in time to our founding, I mean, we started as a credit screening service. It was leveraging a credit database because a lot of the brands we were working with had bill me offers. And at that time, they were deemed to be credit offers. And, we would aggregate the data and it would be under an FCRA compliant database. So from our founding and the beginning of the company, we were building in all of the checks and balances, and compliance that were needed to follow FCRA guidelines. And that's being compliant and protecting that data. But then over time, the bill me offers really were then deemed marketing. So we expanded to have a credit and a marketing file, and we still do to this day. But having that, the setup of our company off of the FCRA compliant database, when things started shifting more, especially like the CCPA, CPRA, and now rolling across the country with all different state laws, it was not that big of a shift for us to get the same, processes in place to be compliant and handling opt-outs. And I mean, because we were doing consumer credit reports and we still do. And now we have marketing consumer reports. So, we are buttoned up with regard to how we had to set that up and how we can continue to keep it compliant. We have in-house counsel, separate data governance team, so we make sure that we're compliant with all the new state laws and any federal regulation that might eventually come along. So because of that, I think the brands are comfortable sharing the first party data, and they know the way we set it up at Alliant is their first party data is housed separately and for their use only. We do transform it into a second party view, which is what is brand anonymized and merged together with, commingled and multi-buyer behavior that gives a fuller view of what the consumers are buying across hundreds of product lines, so that our solutions can be very powerful for each of the brands that we're working with. But it doesn't expose their data because it's changed. It's no longer just their data. It's a rolled up second party taxonomy that is frankly, our work product, right? And we leverage that for analytics and audience creation, and then, have permissioned identities that we link everything to make it actionable. The other thing I'd like to just highlight is that we're all about wanting to be compliant. We have certifications, we're SOC compliant. We, again, follow FCRA, but we also, have over the last couple of years done separate audits with the IAB data transparency and Neutronian data quality scoring. But now we're the very first that has done the dual IAB Neutronian data audit, certification for data quality and transparency. So we're the first one to get the dual certification. And then we just also got the Neutronian cookieless certification. So these are the kinds of things that we do, truth set scoring, all this stuff to make sure that the data is compliant. We prove it out. What we have out there, for on the shelf or custom solutions is what it should be. It's transparent how we're creating it. And, and we have a third party looking at it and giving us those certifications. So long-winded maybe on all that, but that's why, I think that the brands are comfortable working with us, because we have all of that baked into our solutions.
Absolutely. No, it's a great breakdown, and it adds credibility to your company's portfolio. It definitely does. It's
just important. That's why I was really wanting to emphasize all of that for moving forward in where things are going. The third-party cookies going away. We have first-party data. You can share that with us and we'll enrich and take it, to the next level. You have to have that all buttoned up, or you're not going to be able to engage directly with the brands, right?
You said something that is, in our world, comes up a lot, the demise of the cookie. And, we haven't spoken about it too much on this podcast. Just hasn't come up naturally. But in your case, like you said, Donna, you're preparing for it. What is Alliant doing in that area in the future? How are you prepared for that? You work with a lot of data, like you said, various forms of data. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So at the core of our identity graph, it is deterministic. Right. So that's a good thing. Like the first party data then feeding into and transforming into a unified view. It's still linked to individuals, which with all the new alternative IDs, UID2 by Trade Desk, ultimately rolling out across more than just the Trade Desk, Ramp ID. I think there's a Fabric ID from Newstar. I mean, everybody's got an ID, but that all has to tie back down to a known consumer, an identity, right? And so because we are at that level, at the base of our data asset, we can link up using, hashed emails or different hashing to sync up with these IDs, and even integrate directly with different platforms, but not on the, PII, but on hashed identities. But you have to still start if you want to have, a good quality link in the ID graph to other data that you're going to use for audiences or whatever. You want to be to the known individual, right? And then the household, and then the address, and roll it up from there. But as long as you're working with these IDs that are encrypting and anonymizing for the targeting, then, we're agnostic with that. We just want to work with wherever we can do it in a compliant way and anonymized way. So I feel like we're in a good position to just continue to move forward. I mean, We're doing very well with the UID2 in that there's more and more of the targeting being done. The media is being bought on the UID2. It's growing, let's put it that way. And in anticipation of the third party cookie going away.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, it's like inside baseball we're talking, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of the people who listen to the podcast because they're advertisers, they're marketers. It's going to be affecting them in a variety of different ways. One thing that does, affect everyone who's listening to the podcast, again, first party data, and then you also mentioned third party data, right? How is Alliant utilizing third party data to help enrich that first party data to make it effective to go ahead and then market to it?
That's a big part of my job. So is, of course, we work with the first party data, which again, we have a transformation. I like to say then that second party data. That's all about purchasing behavior, right? And which is important because we're servicing, direct to consumer marketers or brand marketers, but they're trying to engage, right, direct to consumers. And purchase behavior, historic and current, is very predictive. But third-party data can be additive and descriptive to fill out the profile of the consumers that we have. So, of course, demographics, lifestyle data, automotive ownership. Are you a new mover? Are you pre-mover? The home ownership aspect, social data. We now have TV viewership information. All that data adds to the fuller picture of what the consumers, not only how they buy and behave in, different kinds of direct to consumer programs, but also, their interests, their demographic profile, and, all of that other information fills out the profile, right? And we leverage it all in data science, right? The models ultimately determine the attributes that are most powerful for creating an algorithm with, the business objective. And sometimes it's the third-party data that is more important than, or in combination with the purchase data can be as important. We'll put it that way.
Absolutely. And now, Donna, you said, I wanted to get to it. I know you're doing a lot in the TV space, but what else is new on the horizon for Alliant? And talk to us about some of the TV stuff you're doing, those audiences, but also as we look to 2024. Right.
So, do you want me to, with the TV viewership is new to us this fourth quarter. We've been doing, have had audiences out there being used for CTV and advanced TV targeting, addressable TV, but to specifically then incorporate TV viewership information, which we're sourcing with a partnership where it's these media streaming servers and apps, et cetera, that are able to capture the viewership information. So it's deterministic. We're building out some deterministic audiences modeled to address genres, subgenres, movies and content, and actual smart TV ownership. And that in combination with also being able to look at actual subscriber information for the streaming services off of credit card transactions. Are they subscribing to Hulu or Netflix or Amazon Prime, et cetera? So we have now, a suite of TV audiences that are the subscribers to the streaming services, and then the viewership based on their specific content, high-level genre, subgenre, and then the smart TV ownership. So we're really excited because, again, we were really starting to see some good activity for CTV, but now having this as well, I think, is just going to continue to grow that for us, that marketplace. And we've launched some new political audiences. I mean, we've had a lot out there to begin with, but with all that's going on right now with the different candidates and, building out that and maybe some additional issues and causes that would resonate with the voters. We've got that out there because next year, is a big election year, right? So. But what might be new then also is CPG and health data. So, I'm looking at others.
Yeah. You hear about
That's next year.
Yep. You hear about health. You hear about like retail. Retail was kind of like this year, but it's always ever trending. So yeah, no, I'm glad to hear that you're, diversifying there. And yeah, political season is huge. Stirista just hired someone, it's also specifically to help in that area. So yeah, you're right. It's all growing there. Donna, let's talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, the Marketing Club of New York, formerly the Direct Marketing Club of New York. Alliant has always been very heavily involved with board membership, attendance, sponsorship. The Alliant sponsors the yearly Outlook, which is always one of our biggest events, and also the Silver Apple Awards. We'll get into that in a moment. But talk to us the importance of that. That why Alliant continues to do that, and the importance of that thought leadership locally here in the community.
I mean, I have to say, it does come from the top, right? Joanne Dunn has been very much an advocate and involved for all of her career, I would say, with industry associations, and especially those that give back to the industry, because you want to keep it a vibrant, thriving one, right? And to share your experiences with and be a mentor, right, with those that are just coming in is important. So she leads the charge with that, right? And Kate, certainly, Caitlin falls in step with that as well, being now on the committee. But a lot of the leadership here at Alliant and across the board have had at some point a period where they're involved with, associations. I had been on the Hudson Valley DMA board for a number of years. And it's just about wanting to give back, because it's been a good industry and career for many of us. And what did we learn that we can share with those that are new, right? And be mentors, but also what we have learned from those that came before us can be passed down. And it's about, so how do we share that? It's about, good content and presentations, being on panels, writing articles, and, just participating in the events that they hold. And the company is always, sponsoring to support those kinds of things, like with the Bruce Beagle kickoff at the beginning of every year. Because that, there you go, that's an education. Let's tee us up. What happened last year? And then what does Winterberry Group see for the new year? And how does that help us all out, right?
It certainly is. I have been a board member probably going on 10 years now. And it was very much that as well, where when I joined, maybe even longer than that, I was like, I was still the young pup in the industry, where I was like, oh, let's have some representation of those young people who the club is looking to help, like you said, Donna, and bring in and continue to nurture. The Marketing Club of New York actually gives scholarships to people, local schools here in New York City, to help the marketing industry and direct marketing industry thrive. So that's what we do there. And also every year there's the Silver Apple Awards, which I was very fortunate to have hosted many of those events this year. Again, I did not make it because I was on my 10-year anniversary. Smack dead.
Yeah, I'm glad that you remember that.
I remember that. Yes, I did. And it was November 2nd. And that's why I could not make it. But, you yourself are a Silver Apple Award winner. And so congrats to that. I was so happy when I saw that. That was a couple years ago. And but you were at the Silver Apple Awards this year. with representing Alliant. So let's talk about why you also, I love what you also do as well. People know this about me. I am a stand-up comedian and I perform all over here in Manhattan, but talk to us about your hobbies, like what you like to do. And you know where I'm getting at here. What you were doing at the Silver Apple Awards. You're a marketing rock star and also a literal rock star.
I am. Well, and what's funny is that because I did, I think maybe it was in 2018, I got the Data Rock Star Award from IAB, which was very appropriate because I like to sing. I sing in a classic rock band. It was a former pursuit before I got involved in loving data and analytics. I wrote and recorded and sang songs when way back when. But anyway, I'm in a classic rock band now called Robin and the Hoods. It's my Robin Newhook is her band. Here I work with Robin, but we have a blast, and we played at the Silver Apples. We did the opening set, a cocktail hour, and then we did a closing set. But what's interesting is through the years, prior to coming to Alliant, I worked at Millard, and we used to have, for like maybe 6 years in a row, Time Inc. parties, because they were a big client. Christine Slesaric was our contact there at Time Inc. And Ben Perez, the president of Millard, and he plays harmonica and I sing, and we would get these bands for the party, and then we'd like sit in. And it started out like we'd sit in with one song, and then every year by the end, we were like doing almost a whole set, with these bands. But we got to play some really great clubs because, we had these parties all over in New Orleans and Chicago and all these great places. So, it's been fun to be able to do that on the side, while still working, what I do.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. And so fitting this year, it was for the first time, it was at the Hard Rock in Manhattan.
It was great.
So it was great. I know.
Next year is the 40th. To have a full set, like the sound man, and everyone was mic'd, and the full light show, and it was like, wow, we felt like celebrities.
I know. Yeah, I look forward to, I didn't get to host it this year, but hopefully I'll host it next year, the 40th. It's the 40th anniversary, the special one. They asked me this year, but I said, this is the 10-year anniversary. And if I want to continue to be married, I cannot host.
That counts.
Yeah, that counted. It was the 9-year or the 11-year. I'm like, she'd be okay with it. But let's ask again, our signature question that people love. And we've even did a compilation of this. LinkedIn, we're all on LinkedIn, Chief Innovation Officer, you're getting, multiple emails and solicitations, I'm sure. What's a message, Donna, that resonates with you? And what's one that you just like hate, you never respond to?
Yeah. The ones that I like are not only relevant with obviously my role and what the company's about, but sometimes if they're connected to, like, there was just some announcement, there was, a blog or a post from Alliant, and they can talk, and that person, and it may be someone that I'm already linked in or is asking me to connect, but that they make reference to something that, will resonate, that Alliant either is talking about or it's relevant to my role at the company and is obviously tailored. The ones that I can't stand is that you can tell that it's a copy and paste or just a mass send out. And even though it might be addressing all contacts that might be interested in data or whatever, it's still not customized, tailored for me. And I don't really pay much attention to those.
Yep. I'm the same way. There's a lot of people who reach out to us, PR agencies, to get people onto this podcast. And I always say, and we rarely accept them. We always like to go after our own guests. But they always say, I always say, here's some advice. Start out by saying you love the podcast or you listen to the podcast, even if you don't. That's a good way to pique our interest before you get your client on to this podcast, or try at least. So yeah, I agree with you, Donna. So this has been amazing, Donna. Keep up the awesome work at Alliant, the audience company. Check them out, ladies and gentlemen. So many great people that I know and am friends with. They're doing some great things there. I'm so happy we got to chat, Donna.
Me too.
This has been awesome. That's Donna Hamilton, the Chief Innovation Officer of Alliant, the audience company. I'm Vincent Petrofessa. AJ Gupta, I will see you soon. I'll give him a big hug for you, ladies and gentlemen. Say hi, right? AJ, we love you, pal. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Stir podcast from Stirista. Please like, rate, and subscribe. If you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, please email us at themarketingstir@stirista.com. And thanks for listening.